That summer, the sea smelled of pennies and rain on sun-burnished boards, and grandmother taught me to cast a line from the old jetty. The pilings wore a crust of barnacles and old lies, and the wind braided my hair with salt and laughter. The water wore itself in blues and greens, a patient, endless mirror, and the gulls wrote questions in the air with their cries. I remember the line in my hand, rough cord biting at the skin. The cork float bright as a stubborn orange fruit, and grandmother's voice knitting the moment together with soft, precise grammar. We rose before the town woke, when the world held still enough to hear a stem of wind and a distant bell from the harbour. The kettle sang on the stove, and grandma swore softly at the kettle while she wiped flour from her hands and tucked a carrot into the basket for lunch. The smell of boiled coffee, lemon rind, and brine drifted through the door as if the house exhaled a welcome to the morning. She gave me a little weathered cap that had once fit her own small head, and she placed the rod in my small palm as if trusting a fragile compass into a child's nerves. "Keep your wrist loose," she said, and her fingers moved over mine as if guiding a shy animal. I did not yet know the sea could be patient, could teach a boy to wait longer than the blushing anticipation in his chest. The first cast landed with a soft plop, a kiss of spray that dusted my cheeks and made me sure I had crossed a line between boy and something larger, something that did not rush. Grandmother's eyes softened, the way weathered stone can soften when the sun finally finds a crack in it. The line sprang, the reel sang, and there, in that bright moment, the world settled into a rhythm I would chase for years to come. We spent the day at the jetty's edge, where the water tasted faintly of copper and old coins. Every time the float bobbed, my breath caught, and every time the line went taut, I forgot to be brave for a heartbeat and learned to be careful instead. Grandmother spoke little, but what she did say felt like the marking of a new map. "Tides aren't loud," she told me once, with a smile that carried its own weather. "They get you if you're listening." So I listened. I listened to the whisper of the currents under the wooden planks, to the soft sigh of the wind sliding through rope and rigging, to the way the sun warmed the back of my neck in slow, patient increments. When the line finally gave, a small silver fish flashed in the sun, and I brought it up with clumsy pride. It wriggled in the air for a moment, as if asking, "Why do you call this a victory?" Then grandmother's hands appeared, steady as a shoreline. She showed me how to cradle the fish, how to keep it from flailing, how to set the hook free in a way that fed nothing but the river's memory. "Respect what you catch," she whispered, as if the sea herself might hear. We hooked the fish in a cloth bag, and the world smelled of kelp and warm fish and the smoky sweetness of a lunch grandmother would later turn into supper. That fish was not a trophy to hang on a wall, but a small gift of the day, a marker that I could do something right if I was patient and attentive. The catch fed not only our bodies, but the quiet between us. We trimmed the nets. We peeled the potatoes. We watched the tide creep closer to the shore, as if it were a dog following That evening, the harbour wore the colour of softened copper, and the town's lights began to blink awake in the distance, as if the water itself were learning a new alphabet. I did not know then that such evenings would teach me more than any book could. In the years after, I would stand in other rooms, and faces would blur. But I would hear grandmother's voice, in the cadence of my own, telling me to be careful, to be patient, to be grateful for the ordinary things that actually carry us through. The memory grew into a habit, a quiet discipline, how to measure time not by clocks, but by the slow, sure action of a task well done, and how to listen to the world until it speaks back in little revelations. Now, as a much older man, with hands that tremble a little, and a gaze that has learned how to rest as much as to seek, I return to that summer with a tenderness that surprised me the first time I allowed it to be true. The jetty is long gone in the storm of aging towns. The nets have been replaced by other tales, and grandmother's kitchen is now only a window in memory. But the day remains, a lighthouse in a hazy sea of years. I can still hear the creak of the jetty, still smell the brine and the lemon rind, still feel the rough twine against my palm, still see the small orange float bobbing like a bright question in the calm of morning. That memory did not simply teach me how to fish. It taught me how to be present, to inhabit a moment fully without pleading with it to be more than what it is. It taught me that patience is not passive, but a choice to stay with something until its truth reveals itself. In the years that followed, I learned to listen, not only to the sea, but to people, the slow unfolding of a story, the tremor behind a voice that would rather be quiet, the unsteady courage in someone learning to begin again after a loss. I learned to sow attention like a quiet gardener, to tend to the soft places where understanding grows. Time moves with a patient insistence, not with fanfare. And yet it has its loud days too. Days when everything seems to rush at once, and I forget the gentleness I was given. But when I close my eyes, I am back on that wooden jetty, the slate-grey morning, grandmother's hand guiding mine, the line humming through the rod, the sea listening for the careful breath between us. In that remembered light, I recognize the whole of my life as a sequence of such patient mornings, of ordinary acts done with love and steady hands. And so I carry that memory like a coin pressed into the palm, a weight that shines when I turn it over, a small reminder that the world does not have to roar to be meaningful. The meaning I found there did not demand grand gestures, only a willingness to wait and notice the tick of a line, the tilt of a tide, the way a grandmother's eyes tell you the truth you will need when you are stumbling through your own storms. It is enough to know that I was shown how to listen, and that listening became my way of living. I am grateful for the quiet lessons that began on a summer morning with a child's fear and a rod that felt too heavy to hold. I am grateful for the patience that unfolded between us, like a letter slowly being written in the sand, washed by the next wave, yet kept safe by the memory of hands that knew how to guide without forcing. Time may carry us away, but the sea keeps returning to the shore, and the shore keeps accepting whatever the tides leave behind. So I stand still as the years slide past, and I say softly to the world what grandmother said to me in the language of wind and water. Be patient, listen, and be grateful for every ordinary thing that allows a life to become something true.